We are continuing along with learning the tarot, so I've been doing these other videos. It's been like a month since I did the last set, but I try to record in bulk because I have needed it while I've been sick to have an upload to be able to go up, so that's why it's been like a block of them for a while. So hopefully I can space them out a little bit again, but also like I also DNF'd a book. I talk about that on Patreon, so like that also kind of messed up my day because that was supposed to be an upload and then I didn't have one to go up, and I'm still trying to aim for every day. So anyways, moral of the story, it's been a minute since I did the first 10 of the wands, and looking at my notes, like there is like such a weird shift from the like numbered ones, including Ace, but like Ace through 10 has like its own storyline, and then it's all kinds of different energy and vibes when we move on to the court cards, I guess is what they're called. When we move on to the like Knight, Page, Queen, and King, those ones, it changes. So here we are for the Page of Wands. And it didn't really fit the story that I had from the previous 10, where it felt like it was like this journey that we're going on. Yeah, now it's just discombobulated, just random. So here we are. So this card is supposed to represent like a child, and like both of the books were like, well, it could represent an actual child. And I'm like, why can't it just represent like childlike nature? Or like the learning and the student kind of vibe. It doesn't necessarily need to be a child. You can be new and learning different things. Like there's plenty of people who come to the craft as like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. They figure out that like this is actually something they want to pursue, let alone like careers and stuff, because wands kind of seem like they seem to, like, I don't know. To me, it feels like the career suit. And so far. Obviously, I don't know them all yet. But at this point, I have gotten my notes for swords, and that definitely is not career. So, wands feels like career stuff. And so, it feels like this is like the card of like the beginnings of that journey, and like the childlike nature, student-like role that you're gonna play in whatever your new beginning might be. And like this card in particular seems to have like that excitement that kids have, that like as like teens and adults, like we kind of lose that. Like life happens, and at some point that excitement for the majority of us gets snuffed out. And this card is like, you gotta refine that. And I guess if it's supposed to represent a person, it's probably gonna be someone who didn't have that snuffed out, whether it is an actual child or just someone with that childlike nature. Personally, I don't like this idea that it represents a specific person. Like, it just feels really weird. Maybe I'll change my mind as I get to know the tarot more, but like with the runes, they never ever, I don't know why I'm pointing at my altar, but they do live on the altar. But like with the runes, it never was like, it represented like a person, really. They were much more just like kind of broad things. And like granted, they're very different systems, but it just feels weird that it's like, well, if it represents a person at this point, and the other ones really didn't have that. It was more like you were in that situation, or like the querent or whatever, but then these are like, well, it could represent an actual person. It's like, but why? And I wonder if it would be described differently in the decks that don't have people to represent these cards. Like specifically, I was thinking as I was reading through this and the swords when we get there, but when I was thinking about those, it's like they're dragons specifically. So it's not gonna represent a person, it's a dragon, you know? Which honestly, the artwork for that deck is so gorgeous. I might have to buy me a deck of that my own because it's so pretty. I love the Dragon Tarot. It's just so gorgeous. And if you haven't seen that video, I posted it probably December, January-ish. And it's just a flip through. I show you the cards, but they're so pretty. So anyways, I recommend that you go look through that deck, and if you're looking for a new one, might consider that one. The artwork is phenomenal. Anyways, back to the card we're talking about. I don't like that it has like this, and it's gonna be for all of them. All the pages, all the knights, all the queens, all the kings, all of them. It's gonna be like, it could represent a real person, and it's like, but why? Why do these ones have to represent a person opposed to the other ones? It just felt really weird. And like such a weird shift from the other cards. But again, new with the tarot, but still, it's a little just weird. I like the idea of just having it represent like aspects of you, because like it's super rare that I have my cards when I do readings, because normally I use Oracle, And so it's really rare that it like you have a card that comes up that represents a person. And like usually you have a spread position for a specific person. And even then it feels like it starts to get into like where your ethics lie, because that starts to feel a little invasive of like, how is this other person doing stuff and what are their thoughts and their actions to be? It feels a little, I don't like to do that personally when I do readings. Another part of this is basically that this card can also mean that like new beginnings are on the horizon, which honestly a lot of the wands seem to have that. Like it was a lot of like new beginnings and new projects and like the beginnings of stuff. And so it just seems appropriate that once again, we have new beginnings here. Now the other, because I should mention that I have opted to just give up on adding notes from Silver Ravenwolf's book. It never seems connected at all, and they're so like vague and just short little blobs of text regarding the cards that I haven't used them. Like I have the notes for this one in particular, but it's 2 sentences. Its messages have to do with information, career, or creative ideas, which basically is all of the wands, let's be real. And then a young person who is impulsive and enthusiastic. That's it. That's all that we get for this card. The other ones have at least 2 full pages on the individual cards. And so I'm just gonna put that book aside. It's just not really helpful. The other 2 that I've been using have been extremely helpful. And I think I've mentioned it, but if I haven't or you haven't watched the other videos, that's fine. So the 2 books that I'm mainly using are The Idiot's Guide to the Tarot. This is one that I had from my mother-in-law's collection. She used to be really into tarot. And it was a well-loved book, which to me is a significant, like, it signifies it's a good book. It was one that she used frequently. And so some of the other ones that we have, they're like brand new. And I'm like, did they suck? Because the ones that she used a lot are very well loved, and you can tell like they just flop open and you're just like, yes, I love a well-loved book. So, and that one honestly has some really good information, and it is an idiot's guide, and I love that. Now the other one is the Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Tarot. I was really hesitant because it does feel very trendy witchcraft. Honestly, I absolutely love this book. The more I use it, the more I fall in love with this book and the author and her writing style. Like, it is so good. Like, it is just one of the best books on the topic. I love the little quotes and different things. Like, both of these are really good. I do like Modern Witchcraft better because she gives examples of how these could be read for different scenarios. And I feel like that is so important to include, because it's like, if you pull this card for money, job, or relationship, and then has it for the reversed for every single card. And honestly, I feel like sometimes we need that. We need to like get outside of the bubble of what it could really mean and like how it could apply to different situations. Such a good book. So anyways, the other thing that this card can mean, and this one's mostly from the Idiot's Guide to the Tarot, they kind of focused more on the idea that it is messages and communication. And basically that this card can herald like good news is on the way, good communication, like that kind of vibes. Which really, again, a lot of the wands tend to have like communication and mind and stuff as like the forefront of its existence. So, you know, kind of just fits what wands seem to be about. Now, as for the reversed of this card, basically, this is when you need to acknowledge, again, that like, you're not knowledgeable on the topic. You're inexperienced. This is a time to pump the brakes, get advice from other people, like, slow down. And basically that at this point, you don't have the skills yet to proceed. So this might mean you need to start learning stuff. And like, again, this has a lot to do with like career and like stuff. So it seems like this would be a time to go learn more, get advice from other people, especially those like in the field of whatever that you're reading about, like to get more knowledge on, whether it's books, counseling, whatever, take some classes. Like, you need to get more knowledge before you proceed. It can also mean that like bad news and miscommunication is on the horizon. And honestly, as I was reading through that part of the notes, I was like, so this is like the equivalent of Mercury is in retrograde. Because really, the gist of a Mercury retrograde is like, stop what you're doing. Everything is gonna suck. Everything is just like, you need to just like hide and just wait it out. And like, don't start new projects during retrogrades. Like, everything, every little word and every action is gonna come across just wrong. Like, seriously, when you start to watch the world before and during a retrograde, you're like, oh, like working other jobs, like I have seen so many times, like it is during a retrograde, like you'll look it up and you're like, oh yeah, Mercury's in retrograde, of course. Because like communication with clients, with patients, with the doctors, with your boss, whatever, it always seems to go wrong. And it's like, what is going on? And then you're like, oh, the planet in charge of communication is just decided to peace out for a few months or weeks or whatever. I think it's like 6 weeks or something that it's in retrograde. I'm not very good at astrology and stuff yet, but like in particular, it was just like, but why? Anyways, I felt like that was a really good way to look at this card reversed, because it does feel like that. And like a lot of the like communication side of it totally is the retrograde. And the other part of it is like you're inexperienced, you need to just like, don't proceed yet. You need to learn some stuff before you go on. So anyways, that is going to be it for my thoughts on this card. Again, I'm not like trying to like completely teach you this card, but this is just my interpretations because again, we're learning it together. And so yeah, I would love to hear your interpretations of this card in the comments down below. I'd also like to know what your favorite deck is, because I used to use the Greenwich Tarot as like my main deck. And now I'm like kind of wanting to use some other ones, and I just haven't decided which one I want to use as like my main one for a while. But now that I'm learning more of the tarot, I do want to start using it more, much like I did the runes, so that I get more familiar with them with just like a daily pull. And so I'm curious what your favorite decks are. Huge thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names here on the screen. If you'd like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.